This is our meeting at the Microbiome Book Club, and we're going to discuss the book Let's Talk Shit. So yeah, we have some serious stuff to talk here with Hans and Noeline. I am Adriana Ponzanelli, and we're hosting today this amazing talk with these beautiful people. Yeah, so well, I have you read the book, Hans? Did you did you get the chance to?
I'm still making my way slowly every night, a few pages through the other book that you mentioned, which was The Gut-Mind Connection.
Oh, the God Mind Connect. Yeah, that's a
And I,
great book as well.
I want a signed copy from Sabine of Let's Talk Shit. So I have that in my library. So
I know, I want to get it too. I think I have to go and drive all the way to Ventura to get the signature.
I was hoping she would be on here tonight, but I mean, she's like all doctors. She is incredibly busy. But,
We so Jenny and we are interviewing her.
oh, you are? When are you doing that?
Yeah, so it's going to be, the interview is from 5 to 6 today. So we're interviewing her, and then we're going to have our afternoon meeting. So hopefully she's going to join the afternoon meeting. I don't know if she has more bandwidth to do the 2 hours straight, but it would be great if she wanted to. Hopefully we can convince her to.
Yeah, no, you catch her as you can.
Yeah.
With all physicians, they have their time apportioned in 10-minute intervals. So
Yeah.
and it's hard to also plan in advance as well. So she is a. Well, give her my love if I can't make it. Just tell her that I say hi. And you might also want to friend her, Nolene. Zabine Zolika is what she is on Facebook. And
Yeah.
also, I think the Microbiome Learning Center, which is run by Jenny Pandol. You might, if you haven't added yourself to that, I would definitely go there as well.
Definitely go there. Yeah. So Jenny works with me as well in the Microbiome Book Club. So we're together. Yeah, and we're great friends. And then she's has this massive group which she's connecting all kinds of physicians just to to increase the knowledge and get together and just feed from each other all these ideas and knowledge from all these. Yeah.
So it's so exciting for me, especially because, like today, I'm actually facilitating a pain management course, and the poor people who are on it, it's incredible. And their diet, what they consume, is just unbelievable. It's dreadful. It really is dreadful. And even today, we did a very short talk. I had a pharmacist in today, and most of it's holistic stuff, but even the pharmacist was saying that the amount of drugs and medication they get is crazy. He doesn't really even agree with it himself, even though he is a pharmacist. He thinks that on some occasions it's necessary. But just listening to them, and I just thought these people don't have any idea really about their gut at all. None. They really don't. They're awful, but they don't. So there's so many people need to be educated out there.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that we actually have to educate people in food, because like when I was little, I mean, like food was food, right? Like you would get just food, and then as you grow, you never think that you have to actually get educated in food. Right? Because it's now all coming from like what they have done to the food. We're not really completely aware of it.
Exactly.
So, like I know my kids, even though I do what I do, I know my kids know about it, and there is also that part of like knowing about it and knowing that it's actually bad for you, but it's still like you can't really visualize how bad it's for you. So you're like, okay, it's bad, but I'll do a little bit of bad and then it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But then so I find my kids and I'm like, why? So for example, like one of my boys got this big bucket of ice cream, chocolate ice cream, and it look harmless. Like you look at it and it's ice cream, chocolate ice cream. And I'm like, okay, so how did you get this? And he's like, well, I just wanted ice cream and I went to get ice cream and this looked good. And then because I trained to read labels, because my one of my boys was allergic to food, so I had to train myself to unpuzzle the ingredient section and learn about what every single ingredient was. And so this is what I do all the time now, because I've done it for like 18 years to be able to, have safe food for my boy. So I do that. I unpuzzle the whole label and I find that there is polysorbate 80 on it. There is like corn syrup. There is like, all these cans of, and there's a list like this. And
Yeah,
I'm like, where's the ice cream?
I know. It's dreadful, really dreadful.
And you look at it and it looks like ice cream, but it's not.
Of
The
course.
lady that I met at EE, but her job is to teach people how she has a background in pharmaceutical sales. And all he does is she teaches people how to read labels. And her point
Ah,
is, when you read a label that has numbers in it, ignore it. Don't put it into your body. But
that
also Joanne Callahan, you probably know Adriana. But Joanne, it's awesome to have you join us here as well. And Joanne is a sleep expert, has huge following in the world of restful sleep. So I'm really grateful that you joined us as well, Joanne.
Thank you for the invite. I'm just jumping on just for a short while before I go pick up Leah. She's okay, and our friends there. We were on a call literally just before this, and Adriana. So yeah, so he kindly gave me the link. So I'm really curious about what you have to say.
oh my goodness. And I hear a lot of Irish accents as well.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I love yours too. I love foreign accents.
I'm from Mexico City, but my husband is Irish, as Irish as you can get.
Really?
from from Boeing, Cork.
Oh wow, fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
so we're going to discuss about this book, and we were talking about food labels for some reason. And I was just saying that it's incredible how the food has changed. Like in the old days, hi Erin. In the old days, we used to like think food is food, and nobody like thought two things about it. But now we haven't really been told that they have added all these things into food. Like we think, my boys think they can go buy ice cream and it's ice cream, but then when you read the labels, like there is a bunch of stuff like we're like, where is the ice cream? There is like polysorbate 80 and maltodextrin and dextrose and like corn syrup, and there is a list of things, right? Like I've seen, like I bring my clients sometimes to the shop, and then I ask them like, okay, what's your favorite shop? And they would say like Target right here. And then I bring them there and I said, can you show me what's your favorite food? So when you come to this store, what's the stuff that you would get? And then they pick up the stuff, they put it in the cart, and then I teach them how to read ingredients. And oh my God, the ingredients I have gone through, there's aluminum in little cupcakes. There is, oh my God, all the stuff that you end up eating when you think you're eating just, a cupcake, and it's not really a cupcake. So that's what we were talking about. And how this relates to fecal transplants is that that's just mainly what's happening right now, that people, I feel that they're not aware of what is in their food, and then how these additives and ingredients change the gut flora. So I have done a little bit of research specifically in just one ingredient, which is polysorbate 80, how microbes and pathogens feed from those additives in food and overgrowth and become pathogenic, and they also mutate depending on what it is in the in when you're eating, because what you're eating, it just becomes your environment in your digestive system. So that's only one way of how our flora changes and why we end up being flora depleted and completely dysbiotic. And now what people are realizing is that healthy people are very few in the planet, that we have nearly extinguished all our microbiome, and that there are only like few of them that is harder to get into a donation for a fecal transplant donation than to get into Harvard, because if you're properly screened to be a donor, it's nearly, the chances that you can be accepted to be a donor are very, very, very small, just because almost nobody has a good gut microbes anymore. And yeah, so I found one of the leaders of fecal transplant in USA is Sabine. So USA hasn't approved fecal transplants for every disease. The only disease it's been approved for is Clostridium difficile, but apparently I think you have to have maybe 2 years of antibiotics, so it has to be antibiotic resistant to be able um, to I'm sorry, I need to get Joan in. Okay, so yeah, to be able to apply for a fecal transplant and just be legal. But there are many other diseases that it seems like fecal transplantation from a good donor, and that's where the things get really tricky, because um, sometimes one donor can be have a great results for for one person, and then have not the great results for another person. So this is where the research comes from Sabine. So what is like, there is like sex compatibility, or is there like just like blood types, right? Like, is there an immune reaction to not just the bacteria but the metabolites that come with the full poop, right? So are you transplanting the whole thing, and are you reacting to the microbes of that person, or are you reacting to the metabolites or the foods that are inside the full poop, or or maybe it's just healing and medicine for you? So this is where things get kind of gray. And yeah, and I think it's very interesting. So I think Sabine has talked about these two phases where I like her because she's not like, she's studying fecal transplants, but she's not saying, oh, everybody get a fecal transplant and you're going to be healed. She is telling us, this could be a marvelous thing, or it could be really dangerous for you. So this is where she is trying to study what it is specific, and she has this amazing computer machine that I got to see, where I haven't really seen any other read of microbiome tests as comprehensive as hers. um, so yeah, she doesn't release her testing because it's all for research, but I got to test my microbiome and my son's microbiome, which I haven't actually got to see because I have to drive to Ventura to see them, but I will once COVID is just all open. um, and yeah, but apparently it's like amazing, her testing is amazing. Mhm. So why don't you unmute yourselves and just share a little bit of your thoughts, or um, maybe what you do.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I am Azam Kayase from Dubai.
Hi, Azam. Oh my God. You're so far away. That's so awesome. Thank you for joining.
I am hepatogastroenterologist and I am
Oh,
clinical microbiologist.
oh, wow.
Last year, we did in UAE with so many university. We did what we call it COVID-19 UAE microbiome signature.
Oh, wow.
And now it is under press. I hope we can show something how the people, if they eat well, if they eat microbiome diet, if they eat a lot of green vegetables and fruits and all this, which is healthy diet or Mediterranean diet, can be overcome COVID in a different way. Even now, I advise my patients to take microbiome diet when they are taking before or after taking vaccine, because also microbiome diet, it can change the microbiome signature and can reshape our microbiome signature and to make our microbiome signature more harmony with what we call it. Uh, I am working in microbiome since now 4 years, giving a lot of lectures in UAE, in Syria, in Egypt, and I am the clinical principal investigator of our own holistic microbiome signature. Even I'm talking about, in addition to human, about plants, about animal, about water, soil, and environmental. Uh, in such things, we need, before to talk about fecal microbiota transplantation, of course, nowadays we change this fecal, we call it intestinal. It will be more acceptable. Intestinal microbiota transplantation. First, we should make a lot of awareness. For example, yesterday, I was live by radio of Dubai, talking about what is microbiome signature, how we, what is for the lay people and for the educated people. And this is need a lot of awareness. To reach what we are talking today about intestinal microbiota transplantation, really we need a lot of authorized people to work on poo or superstool bank. And it needs a lot of things. Maybe you ask me, did you do any transplantation in UAE? Myself, I didn't do, but my colleagues in pediatric, they did, especially for Crohn's disease. It will help, you know, in Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, especially in Crohn's disease. If you change the microbiome signature as early as possible, it will be really change the pathogenesis of Crohn's disease. Not only a Crohn's disease, and autoimmune disease, allergy, all these things. A couple of days before, they called me and they asked, Doctor, did you have fecal transplantation for autism? This is what you talk now. But before to have, we should know, is one of the parents have superstool? And after that, we come to know if it is suitable or not. I can talk a lot, but just this is introduction.
Wow, this is amazing. Dr. Sam. Yes. Oh my God, this is really,
I
really.
have a special, I have a special, maybe you saw my page in Facebook, Dr. Kayase Microbiome is a virtual microbiome center. In this Facebook page, I'm doing a lot of things. What is going on, what is up to date. Most of my lecture it is on this page. Okay.
Oh my God, yes. And this is what I want to do. I am, please send me all your, your, what you do, where
I'll do it.
people can contact you. I
Yeah.
will upload a page where I want everybody to write all your information so people can contact you, because a lot of people around the world, they need to know that you exist, all of you. And
Thank you very much.
yes, and I want us to expand as many people as we can share, invite everything we can connect, because it's really hard to find sometimes, like locally is really really hard to find people that are actually doing the same thing like us.
Just now I finished, before I join you, I finished genome. I was attending for genome big data in genomic medicine. And also still in our microbiome medicine, we have huge data, more than genome. That's meaning if we can share, not nationally, also internationally, because nowadays all we are living in social media, how we can make it possible. For example, up to now, I am sending the sample from stool to make microbiome signature or microbiome mapping outside. It take about 2 months, and this is it will not take 2 months to make such things. Making maybe take a couple of days, but because they need to collect as much as they can, test about 100 tests to run it in the same way. Is it our friends who is listening now, participating now, can we do something together to start to I'll send my sample to them, or they will advise me what I'll do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody will be interfere in this?
My name is Joan. What is your name?
Hi, John.
Hi.
Let me
Come
work
on,
out my
John.
tech difficulties over here. So I'm just, how do I refer to you? I'm sorry, doctor or mom? So I'd like to address your comment. I think there's a delay in technology.
Sorry for jumping in there. Go ahead, Joan.
Oh, I was just saying that I love what you're talking about. It resonates with me. I've been studying Dr. Brody's work for many years, and I often wondered about the offsetting the reactions that some people may have, that it's a negative reaction. I was following a pediatrician who was using L-rhamnosus GG to offset anaphylaxis peanut oil by titrating it in tiny amounts. And within a certain amount of time, that peanut allergy that was life-threatening for that child completely went away. And I was wondering, and I just wanted to put this out there, that what if we prepped, like you were saying, with diet, but at the same time brought in strains that we know are actually commensal to help facilitate an easier transition for people that may have really imbalanced or extinct microbiome. But I just wanted to put that out there too. I may not be addressing your question, but it kind of was on my mind as you were talking.
Can I answer?
Yes, please.
The most important to know exactly the signature, because if you know the signature, and for example, if you are thin or if you are obese, there is different. The microbiome signature. I'm talking about the gut microbiome signature.
Yes.
Because there is oral microbiome signature, there is lung microbiome signature, skin microbiome signature, so many things. Even if we are talking about the tumor, breast cancer microbiome signature, colorectal cancer microbiome signature, even there is pancreatic cancer microbiome signature from saliva. For this now, My role as a doctor, I want to aware more and more, educate more and more the people and the lay people and the educated people, how we can reach to know about our healthy signature and our disease signature. Because when you know, and for example, you are talking about the food, of course, there is special food which is changing. It is working as prebiotic. It will change the microbiome signature from uh, uh, dysbiosis to obiosis. And for example, you are from where, John?
California,
California.
USA.
What is your kitchen there? Are you taking a lot of spicy food, or you are taking more Kentucky or whatever? Because this is it will shape your microbiome signature.
Yes.
What you are eating.
So
Because you know,
paleo autoimmune, but layer it in with herbs, different types of herbs.
very good. What about the first 1,000 days of your life? Did your mother told you about the first 1,000 days of your life?
Well, at that time period, everything was very sterile. Everything was
Yeah,
out of a
because
box. It was
you know,
or
you know
aluminum
the
foil.
the most important is the first 1,000 days of our life, from conception to 3 years old. If we really shape the microbiome signature of our children properly, they will have a healthy life without any disease. Okay,
And
now we are the adult. How we can reshape our microbiome signature? Of course, no antibiotic without indication, and we should eat healthy. What do you mean eat healthy? More fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, which is available. I'm not asking you to make something extra. What is available according to your budget, you can eat. And for example, what I'm eating in the morning, I'm taking fruits in the morning, water, walnuts, dates. After that, taking my coffee. In the evening, of course, noon, there is lunch, but I'm not taking a lot of bread. No bread in my diet. Not because I having problem, no, because this is what I prefer. If you want to take bread, you should take whole wheat bread. In the evening, also fruits or vegetables. You should drink a lot of water. You should sleep properly during night. You should do exercise. You should do meditation. If you are praying, you should pray with khushu', we call it with proper prayer. This is all will reshape our microbiome signature. This is what
yes,
I'm.
yes,
Okay.
I agree 100%. And there are a lot of misconceptions with the microbiome. Well, starting from diets. Let's talk a little bit about diets because I like what you said. I was 6 years on a GAPS diet, which is kind of like a paleo, kind of hardcore paleo. And my experience at that point was there was very little research. I'm talking about 2011. And there was not a lot of research into ketogenic diets. So I just went for it, and I pulled my kids out of school, and we were 4 of us in the GAPS diet. What I found is that at the beginning, we all did wonderfully. We all started to, have changes in our symptoms. That's the only way I could, see things by symptoms, because we were not testing anything at that point. But at some point, one of us started to get better, and 3 of us started to get, in a way, better, and in a way worse. In a way so worse than that, things started to go really bad. I am talking about, kidney strain from the heavy protein diet, leaky gut, autoimmune disease. So I found that, then I tested our microbiome, and I found that I had zero gut bacteria. Like I started with no good bacteria, I guess, when I started the diet. But as I went through the diet, because I stopped eating grains, I stopped eating wheat, I stopped eating all this sugar. I haven't eaten sugar in, I don't know, 10 years. Then I started to get allergic to sugar, and I started to have allergies to celery, to apples, but my son was healing all his allergies to foods. So what I could find is that my son had tremendous overgrowths of pathogens when he started the diet. And I had already very depleted microbiome because I took so many antibiotics. And I was a dental surgeon, so I was exposed to a lot of mercury and a lot of heavy metals from work. And when after a period of time, I saw I had leaky gut because I had depleted my microbiome to a point where my gut was in tremendous worse disaster than before I actually started the diet. So I have done some research in diets and microbiome, and some people get better, especially people with overgrowth microbiome, where the immune system is not working to modulate the amount of overgrowths. So, microbes are replicating without anybody just, modulating. Those are the people who are doing a little better. But the people who have a working immune system, but like no microbes, are getting leaky guts and getting worse. So I think now, when I have clients or patients, it's really hard to implement diets. I think, I agree with you. You have to know exactly what is in the environment, and where is their dysbiosis. They could have lung dysbiosis. They could have, vaginal dysbiosis. They could have brain dysbiosis. Even there's microbes in the brain. There's a brain microbiome. So yeah, it's not that simple. And I think the research is very important.
If I can address that really quick, talking about the diet, sometimes the diet, we can't break down the foods that we need because of our condition, because of the foods and our exposures. And I've been looking into different ways to get the nutrients in so that the body can easily assimilate it. And then I've found some resources that encapsulate it in a liposomal encapsulation so that the body can readily use. And I can't help but feel that one of the reasons that these are not working is because of that foundation that's not there, that foundation of the proper, it's the monkey wrench, if you will. It's like any number of things can turn out, like you said, some people have really good experiences with exposure to whatever they're taking, and other people can react completely different or in a negative way. And so to put that out on the board, sometimes we can't get those nutrients we need from the foods in the diet, especially these particular people. So how can we get the right nutrients to the body, maybe in loading doses, so that that body can absorb it and move forward, and then maybe they can start getting it from their food. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes.
I also just make a comment here. I moved from the world of treatment and cures as research at Pfizer in the allopathic generation of molecules to treat various different diseases, to the world of wellness and prevention in 2009. 2010 or 2012, there was a wonderful special issue, Nature of Science, which had on the cover was just a rack of fruit and vegetables, and the title of the whole issue was Disease Prevention. One of the researchers that published there was a guy who was doing his postdoc in Chicago before he moved back into Shanghai to take up a position there. And his name is Li Ping Zhao. And his mantra is eat right, keep fit, live long, die quick. It is so simple that we all tend to forget. Now, I have been incredibly grateful to my parents. We also know from years ago, there was another paper in Nature that shows that children who grow up on farms that are exposed to all the enterotoxins from the dirt that they play around, they have a more robust immune system. And of course, the immune system is intricately connected to the gut, because a lot of immune cells recognition is in the gut. So first of all, I don't remember, but I'm grateful for the breast milk. I'm grateful for the vaginal birth that has set me up. And I'm grateful for having grown up on a farm in Ireland with good food, raw milk, and all the other eating dirt things that I did when I was a child. It is this antiseptic environment and this war on all the microbes that basically are part of our microcosm that has gotten us into this place where we are now, where we have to now try to fix. And some of these fixes are really, really, really hard because the gut has got to a stage where it cannot even recognize good food and needs to be brought back into some form of health. And I love what Dr. Azam said. You don't know what you do not know. And ignorance is a powerful tyranny, and hell is the truth learned too late. The whole era of microbiome research and metabolomics, this is new. This is in the last 10 years, but at the core of us, we know we know what we need to do to have a healthy lifestyle. And that I think I'm really very, very happy that we're getting more focus on it. But really, if you eat right and you keep fit, you will live long and you'll die quick. Now, the question is, and this is why I've moved into, one of the things I'm excited about is a device that I use to measure whether you're eating right. That's the core of my wellness business now for the last 11 years. So my job is just to get everyone, I don't care what they do. I only care that they know, are they eating right? After that, it's up to them. The devil can take the hindmost, but I have done my job of empowering people with the awareness of what they're doing to their miracle machine. Does that make sense?
This is very important, especially for people who are young, like I would say my boys, because I could try to fix their microbiome. I could try to test them. I could try to give them a lot of stuff, to try to recover them. But if they are not taking care of their habits, their food, nothing is going to work because the foundation is not even there. So I think it is very important what you say, Hans. That's the base of health. The other thing I must say is our soils are very contaminated. Our environments are polluted. So the microbes we are being exposed to, I see a lot of overgrowths of the same typical pathogens like Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, Pseudomonas aeruginosus, Candidas, and fungus. They're almost all the same. And sometimes I ask myself, where are all these pathogens coming from? Why are they getting so resistant to treatment? And then you go and see how the runoff of pesticides is killing the flora in the soils. So we are not having, even though you're eating well, the environment, what you're eating, it's not the same in one lettuce and the other lettuce. You're not getting the same microbes. And it also depends on where in the world and how your surrounding environment is is feeding you, or is making your own gut microbiome, because I think we're very intricately relate to our environments.
Can I just add something really quickly, and then I've got to go pick up my daughter. I am really interested in, and I promote a healthy microbiome in relation to sleep. So not an awful lot of people talk a lot about sleep and a healthy gut. And we know a healthy gut really it's the gateway to our health, really, isn't it? But the microbiome really helps to helps with our circadian rhythm. It helps with our sleep-wake cycles, and we know there's the gut-brain connection and all these neurotransmitters that are associated with sleep, like serotonin. We need serotonin to make our melatonin, our sleep hormone, and so much of our serotonin is made in our gut, and melatonin as well actually is very available in the gut. So we do need a healthy microbiome for these processes, and for promoting good mood as well. And we know we need serotonin for that, and good mood helps with sleeping well. So there's a lot to consider with the microbiome in relation to sleep. So that's where I'm interested in particular. Obviously the microbiome just helps with our immune system. It helps with so many different areas of our life, but that's in particular in relation to sleep. So that's what I have to say.
We can't hear you, Adriana.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Could you not hear me at all, or did you hear me?
No, I heard
No,
you.
we heard you.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mute myself for some reason. So yeah, oh, thank you for that, John. I've actually been trying to go to bed at either 8 or 9 and try to get up at 4 or 5 to meditate, and that has actually added tremendous health. Like I feel like happier. I feel like I rested, and I kind of started my day before everyone else, like ahead of the curve. But I think that's so important. And oh my, I'm sorry. Okay, I should know how to block that. Yeah, so yeah, sleep regulates glucose, and glucose is the main metabolism for the brain. And I think it's so important because and as well the microbiome, I think they both feed, like you said, they both feed on each other, because sometimes you can go to bed but you just can't fall asleep. Like you can be on your bed trying to be good, trying to go early to bed, but you're like tossing and turning, and and then there is this blue light on the screen that people are being exposed to, so you can't secrete your melatonin properly. And then there is this tryptophan cycle that microbes modulate, where it's the main precursor of serotonin and melatonin. So if you don't have your microbiome in check, then these microbes are just breaking the pathway of tryptophan and bringing the pathway into the wrong, it's like
Kynurenine pathway?
Yes.
The quinaloic, yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
So, so there is wheel, and then there is the microbiome. So, I like what Dr. Assam said, like it's a whole thing. Like you have to integrate the whole thing. You have to integrate environment, habits, food, medicine, like mainstream medicine versus functional medicine, nutrients, like Joan said. Once you lost your microbiome, you're not absorbing your nutrients. So where are you going to get? You have to get them right straight into the blood, because you can't digest things. Even if you go into a very restrictive diet, you might you might be lacking enough microbes that you can't even digest the proteins, the fats, the carbohydrates. I think this is very important. And I feel that this is when people that, they eat well. What did you say, Hans? Eat well.
Eat right, keep fit, live
Eat,
long, die
yeah,
quick. And
yes.
and yeah.
And so people that do that, because I know I did that.
But you
And
did really. That's
I
the
did.
the-
I ate well. I did everything. And I researched the heck out of it. And I still was sick. And
Can I
so,
ask you a question?
yeah,
Did you make your microbiome signature? Did you test your microbiome signature?
that's when I tested my microbiome. And
When?
then I realized um, uh, anything that I am doing is actually just like anything. I couldn't digest anything. So I had no microbes. I had no
No,
microbes.
I know you send your sample, your stool sample, and you test your microbiome signature.
Yeah.
And how many pages it comes your test? Because
many?
microbiome signature or the test of the microbiome is so many platforms.
Yeah.
Some lab they will give you just 2 pages. Some lab they will give you 28 pages. Some lab they will give you 10, 20 pages. For this, the most important in this gathering today, we should find what is the solution for proper test of our microbiome. Of course, we are going to test our microbiome by 16S RNA or by metagenomic or by the others. All what we are doing is about bacterial microbiome.
Yeah.
Still, we are forgetting viral microbiome or viroma. Still, we are forgetting fungal microbiome, mycoboma or mycobome. Still, we are forgetting the other part of microbiome. Now,
and
let us
helminths as well. Helminths and platyminths.
This is the fourth type of the microbiome. Now, roughly, we are talking about microbiome. We mean bacterial microbiome. Now, regarding probiotic, I am against to take probiotic blindly without knowing what is going on as dysbiosis, what is missing from your microbiome signature. After that, we'll give you, for example, in ulcerative colitis, there is special probiotic about 900 billion. You see, it's not only just a few billion, 900 billion. Why? Because in ulcerative colitis, there is something missing in your signature or in the patient's signature of microbiome. For this, we should replace it to make it obiosis, to make it a good balance, to make it a good harmony, to feel happy and to feel healthy and to feel wealthy.
Yeah, you make a very good point. And I also feel that if you test your microbiome today and then you test your microbiome tomorrow, you'll get different results. Even if you test. So this is what I've done. I've done the same stool test, the same stool, different testing. Like I've done, I don't know, what is it, Genova and the O test, and I've done several tests. And let's say one would tell you, yes, you have H. pylori, and then the other one would say there is no H. pylori. One would tell you there is, metabolites of candida and fungus, and then one would tell you there is no fungus at all.
No, because this is according to the platform, which platform they are using, because it is it's a big data.
Yes.
We should, for this, we should know exactly what we are talking about. Of course, today we are talking about fecal transplantation, but I am the first time joining you. I hope we can arrange something for all of us to make it not simple, to make it more scientific, and to go ahead and to make from our meeting some paper, some consortium, and because all of us are different education, as I know. There is some working in academic, some not working. And can anybody will talk about himself to know exactly who who we are now today?
Yeah, sure, I will. If you guys are
Go
open, I
ahead.
don't know. Anybody else wanted to talk?
Go ahead, please.
Martina, go ahead.
Go ahead. Unmute.
My
Go
turn
ahead.
or somebody else?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Martina. It's nice to meet you. I'm just mom. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a practitioner. I have very complex child. He's 8 years old now, and we are on the microbiome journey from 2016, after the standard medical system failed us, and instead getting better, my child got worse. So in the time we did tons of different studies. We did see tons of specialists, immunologists, neurologists, mitochondria expert, worked with a great microbiome. For a long time we did the GABS diet, and and my son has a very fragile and fluctuating microbiome. On the top of that, he was diagnosed with autism and a developmental delay. So a lot of things is brushed under autism, despite that it is medical. But the main thing that I noticed, and I knew and know that it is something medical and with immune system, is that he's declining very quickly after the minor infection or any stress factor. And it does as well mess up with his microbiome, that it's flipped, and he's presenting with more abdominal distress, movement disorder, and seizures like episodes. So what I would like to put your attention on, it's something that we discovered just last year accidentally through a whole exome, whole genome study, that he has something called G6PD deficiency, and it's a very common enzynopathy. Over 400 million people that has it, and as well in diabetes and cardiovascular condition, it's as a secondary condition. And as well, it's a risk factor in COVID, being funny, but it's not really much mentioned in the public media. But standard medicine is focused only on the hemolytic, acute hemolytic episodes related with this condition. But there is much more publications and interest of scientists and researchers that is going more toward how this enzyme deficiency affects neurodevelopmental disorders, and as well it predisposed to some immune dysregulation. And maybe this is the one that it's when the immune system is not modulating so well and gut is reactive. I'm not sure about that. So after we start addressing more his G6PD, and there is like a huge list of avoid medication, over-the-counter herbal that you can, despite that you have candida and you would use it, but for those with the G6PD, actually it would make more problematic because it will deplete more glutathione, create more mass and oxidative stress, and trigger more other genetic predispositions, which my son has. And maybe this is the domino effect that it's triggering. Over last 4 years, we did probably about 50 microbiome studies. And I still do it sometimes every 2 weeks. It's nothing that would meet Dr. Sabine standards. It's not available for us with 4,000 per study. But even with, we started with Stanford study. We did a lot of ubiome when it was still running. We switched later on to Thrive and running now through Biome site as well. So the things that I observed from my son, and could be G6PD related, is that he doesn't tolerate catalase positive bacteria, and that it's almost that this condition is mimicking granulomatous, and there is lots of catalase positive bacteria, and it doesn't even that it's like a super infection. It's just triggering like dysbiosis and overgrowth, so it flips microbiome metabolites and things may be happening. And another thing that I don't know how to address it, and I don't think that anybody knows, is that this condition, the level of the enzyme activity, my son has very low enzyme activity, impact phagocytic functions. So if this is interrupted, any ideas how to correct it with microbiome modulations? He was really, really in a rough condition when we were with the standard medical, and our history started. Yeah, there was developmental delay, but some trigger happened after 12 months, and he started deteriorating slowly with energy depletion, and gut motility stopped. So he started going, and of course the treatment in the standard medical is PEG.
Martina, can I ask you something?
Yep.
Did he have antibiotics in the first, days of life? First 3 months
yeah,
of life?
He had antibiotic during the delivery, right? Because I had strep positive, so we had penicillin.
Okay.
And as well, there were a few antibiotics in the first 2 years of life, but maybe 2 or 3, but not loads. But yes, there were.
Do you know what type of antibiotics?
Yeah, I have them written down. I don't have like memorizes, but I have like a full medical history written down.
Yeah, because I think to my what I have researched and read and learned, I think this is where the main problem is. Genes are very important to see, but then we have epigenetics. So, a lot of people have gene mutations from all kinds of things. So like most people have all kinds of mutations. But, we also have our epigenetics that are like little tags that can change your human genome. And not always, of course. You have very predominant genetic diseases that cannot be cured with a fecal transplant, but you can make things better. But I think that the main problem is antibiotics to the mother previously, before the mother gets pregnant, because I believe that the microbiome starts in utero. Like, I know there is a lot of controversial about this, but I don't think life is sterile. The baby has a meconium, and the meconium is already proven to have a microbiome. And then there is, they have proven that the mother's endodontics, the bacteria can leak into the placenta, and that makes a baby microbiome. And then not only the mother's antibiotics, the grandmother's antibiotics, and then the worst part of it is, the beginning of life antibiotics, because this is when the flora is trying to establish in the niches of the mucosa of the lining of the digestive system. And I imagine this like, the movie, there was a movie, there was Nicole Kidman, and her ex-husband, was his name,
Tom
Tom
Cruise?
Cruise. Yes. And I imagine the microbiome like this. There is this movie where they, all the settlers are coming to America, to the promised land, and they have this huge field, empty field, and they're all waiting. And then there is a man with the gun. And then, when he's going to fire the gun, everybody's going to run to get, the spot. And I just feel that this is the way I imagine the microbiome settling in the first 3 years of life. Like Dr. Sam said, this is critical period for the establishment of the microbiome. And
Yeah,
as you
but we
said,
already
like,
missed that part. We
yes,
already missed that part, and
yeah.
I do agree with you that the antibiotic play a role.
Mhm. Yeah, because as you said, like the first 12
Yeah.
months, he seemed fine.
Well, there was a developmental delay, but there was no health issues, and there was no abdominal issues, and no seizures, and no any other stuff. So those were triggered more as standard medical got involved with their standard approach. And we did FMT, but this, I don't know, maybe one of you or maybe few of you will be a little bit intrigued with this G6PD deficiency and look into the literature about it, because this is very trigger prone. And as you're saying about epigenetics,
Martina, and I'm interested in your child case. Let us work together, because this is something unique in G6PD. We have here in G6PD. Is there is G6PD microbiome signature specific? For this, I put my email, I put my mobile. You can send me all your results of your child. Let us work together to know exactly how we can treat your son today.
Martina, on top of that, I would also ask, and I would also like to hear from Aaron. So Adriana mentioned the epigenetics. So, as everyone knows, it's not only the gene, it's not only Darwin, but it's also Lamarck, which is how we make the genes into life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question about just, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase, is that a mutation that reduces the activity of the enzyme, or is it just not made in sufficient quantities? If it is the former, and this is why nutritional interventions can raise, and I don't want to get too scientific, but there's a paper by Bruce Ames in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2002, and here's what is the title: High dose vitamin therapy stimulates variant coenzymes with decreased coenzyme binding affinity, increased Km, relevance to genetic and disease and polymorphism. So NADPH is a cofactor for glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. I'm not saying it's going to work, but it might be interesting to see whether upping the concentration of NADPH, which is a cofactor, will take care of some of the decreased activity of that enzyme. So we are talking about the microbiome. I always listen to a comment a friend of mine who's the head of research at a company. It is truly amazing what the body and its immune system can do when provided of all the nutritional building blocks it needs. That's where it comes down to, are we providing?
I agree with you. And regarding nutritionists, there is as well a paper that the butyrate is changing the epigenetics and increasing that G6PD. But the question is, how much butyrate, what type butyrate, which way, and why the butyrate producers are depleted, and what is triggering the possible inflammasome that it's depleting those butyrates. And
I'd like to,
epigenetics.
may I chime in here? Can I chime in here? Because I think this is a pivotal right now, because this is in the back of my head wondering, I don't hear anybody talking. So one of the things I wanted to know was, is there anything off the table we can't talk about? I'd like to be able to talk about like anything. Is that possible? Or are there certain things like chemicals that we cannot talk about?
Oh no, you can talk about anything.
Okay, in my research, I have pulled and stumbled and pulled together all different kinds of different perspectives on this. And the myelination, if I'm saying that correctly, is the effects of certain foods that turn off the expressions of our genes. So that also applies to chemicals. Now, glyphosate is everywhere, as we know. It's on many levels, and it's hard not to get this. But then when it starts doing things like depleting the metals, depleting the amino acids like tryptophan, and it breaks biotin chains so that B6 can't be absorbed. When it looks at the way those pathways are getting interrupted, or the fact that glyphosate occupies a glycine receptor, and then you start pulling back and you look at the receptors and the way that it's expressing and almost being targeted. Whoops, did I just say that? That I think that's the variations that are expressing. But when I also stumble upon the fact that those foundational vitamins are so pivotal, that if that's not there for that body to fall back on, to pull from, that's why the expressions start to, and Hans, you're welcome to chime in here too, sort of that expression because of our exposures, but also what we're eating, the lack of nutrient dense foods. And so choline and biotin and thiamine, these are all really pivotal. The B6, they're all really pivotal in how the body pulls and gets these nutrients. Now, if the glyphosate burden is on that body and it's interrupting how, like it's flipping a switch on the MUC gene, and then you don't have the mucosal abilities that an average person does, then that individual is going to have less mucin. Then you find ways to build up that mucin. And to me, that's been my journey. Find ways through herbs or different plant species and through nutrition supplements. These individuals may not go by an RDA. They may need huge elevated doses just to get their body where it needs to be, which Hans goes back to that article. And I completely agree. I'd be fascinated if you could put that into the chat. I would love to read that.
And also, I love that. I love all what you said. And also, we have to take a look at biofilms because, as I said, I'm sorry, I'm not reading the messages. Okay, I'll take care of the messages in a second. But as I said, once the biofilms are established, by the age of 3, it's really, really, really hard to change the environment of the gut. And, coming back to this book, Dr. Thomas Bordy, who is the writer of this book, I think it's him that he said that sometimes one fecal transplant is not going to heal your child. It might heal, some lighter dysbiosis, but sometimes the kids need 80 fecal transplants to start seeing some results. Sometimes you can have a fecal transplant and have absolutely 0 results, and then in 2 years everything starts changing. And I think we have to really see how biofilms and glyphosate and heavy metals, they all form part of the community of what makes the biofilm that sets, and it's just doesn't move. And then there is all the other stuff that that plays a part with it. But I feel that don't get discouraged. I think we all can help with looking at this gene mutation and see how we can overpass. But I think there is a hope, and don't get discouraged just because one fecal transplant didn't work. A lot of kids have such a tremendous dysbiosis that a little bit is not going to work. You have to work really, really, really hard in all aspects of the environment to be able to heal them.
Yeah, Aaron, can we hear from you, love? Because and Nolene had to leave, so I would have loved, and Joanne.
Yes.
Joanne stayed longer than she could, and she was so intrigued by all of the awesome people here. And Adriana, thank you for gathering all these people together.
Yes.
It's great to
Yeah, I know people might be on a timeline, so I'll just go really quickly. My name's Erin. I'm from California. I'm a nurse and a functional medicine health coach. And I just wanted to say too, what, you know, if a fecal transplant is failing, like, is that child feeding them properly? Like, I'm just so fascinated right now how important polyphenols and the fibers from, you know, leeks and artichokes, and and that's why the diet, like you were talking about earlier, Adriana, the GAPS diet can be so handy to kill off some pathogens. But if you stay out on that extreme too long, you're not feeding the good bacteria. And so that's why, you know, people go vegan, vegetarian, but after a while, that's the other extreme, right? You don't have the building blocks to keep, you know, your intestines strong with the collagen and, you know, all the missing vitamins and things like that that can happen with that. So I've kind of come back to, you know, it's kind of a spectrum and people move back and forth, and that's totally going to affect what can live in your microbiome, right? And so just that, and also just really quickly, I just want to touch on, I don't think I heard anyone mention too, the importance of the HRV, the heart rate variability, and the gut brain connection, because we can't heal unless you're in the rest and digest mode, right? So you need to make sure that the vagus nerve is toned, and that's probably a lot of kids, you know, probably make huge strides in healing their body, and adults with toning that vagus nerve so that they can easily go from parasympathetic to sympathetic and back and forth when they need to. They're not stuck in the sympathetic side, and they're not going to get the healing, even no matter what if you're doing, you know. So it is kind of a little bit of everything that we have to incorporate. And that's kind of the beauty of health coaches. If they're a functional medicine health coach, can help people with all those daily living things that do contribute. But yeah, and then to just make sure we're feeding the good gut bacteria, you know.
So Erin, I love what you say. And I put my link in to my Calendly link. I'd love to continue this discussion individually. I think that what I've learned in the last 12 years post Pfizer is that we cannot see the wood for the trees.
Right.
We focus on the one thing that might be the problem, but we forget the whole holistic picture.
Right.
Of what keeps this complex miracle machine in balance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's homeostasis. So you come back to very simple: eat right, keep fit, live long, die quick. If we can just do that, and I don't want to pick on our mothers, but they are responsible for everything. So we need to empower them with all the information. If the child is in the gut or on the breast, it will take from the mother what it needs if the mother has it to give. After that, it depends on what is the education. What does that mother know from her grandmother, from her mother, from her father about what it is? And I don't want to talk about feeding because we're overfed and undernourished. We need to nourish the body, the mind, and the spirit for that holistic balance. And there's another great paper in Nature in 2011, which talks about, and I can read it later, I can put it into the text, but it talks about the 200 years where we have the great advances in our allopathic medicine as being infection, infectious, pain, and chronic diseases. Yeah, not chronic disease, infection and pain, basically, and cutting things out. The
Surgery.
surgery. So
Acute disease.
basically, what the point is that there has been absolutely no progress. He says, by contrast, progress in understanding and treatment of chronic and degenerative diseases has been slow. And it is these conditions, such as diabetes and Alzheimer's disease, that are responsible for the large portion of the West's soaring and unsustainable sick care costs. I don't call them healthcare costs. So he asked the questions: could Western treatments of these diseases, where it is no infectious agent, but rather an internal imbalance in the immune system or other biological housekeeping systems, be improved by insights from traditional Chinese medicine? That's where we need to go. We need to have this holistic approach to get back to balance, and even get back to balance in our communities, in our families, in nature. Yeah. It's all about that fine balance.
And Hans, sometimes I'm going, since we are talking shit today, I'm gonna talk a little bit of shit here.
You go.
It's something kind of disgusting, but um, if I forget to wash my kids' toilet, so sometimes I do. I don't go there to my boys' toilet because they're all boys, and sometimes I do go there, and I find that just like the teeth, and this is where I get my ideas. You get calcium buildup on your toilet rim. And these are biofilms. Biofilms are structures. For example, you get it into your kombucha. If you touch the kombucha SCOBY, it's so thick and hard that it's almost like flexible. You can't really separate it. And then when you go to dentistry, the same thing happens. Biofilms are a conglomeration of microbes with things from the environment, like metals and minerals and all kinds of things. It's like a nest, a bird's nest, right? The microbes are pulling, they are secreting all these polysaccharides, and they are making literally like a spider web, so strong that it's very, very difficult to remove. And in dentistry, we can only remove it with ultrasonic devices or manually. But if you try to brush it off, if you try to, if you already build up your biofilm, your tartar, and you try to, do whatever you want, it's not going to go away. So this is where I feel that I like to focus in biofilms because what we see is like with botanicals. When I studied microbiome medicine with Grace Liu, one thing we saw is that every patient we gave botanicals and we tested their microbiome, and their microbiome changed. And then all of a sudden, their research says you start killing one layer, but it's like like a club sandwich. It's one layer on top of other layer on top of all other layer, right? It's a sandwich. So you're only working on the surface on the top. Once you're opening that, it's like, then all kinds of things are coming. So you start changing symptoms. So you give botanicals, and all of a sudden the symptom, the client comes with all these other symptoms of like a viral disease. And then what we see in the research is that when you open those biofilms, things live inside other things. You kill something, you remove a metal, all of a sudden the symptoms start changing. So it's not that easy. Don't give up. This is what being a mother of kids, with gut issues, I'm going to say, no matter how old is your kid, don't give up. Don't give up. There's always a way to do it. And we're here, all of us, to connect and to research and to share for the better of the world.
Yay, good job.
I'll applaud that as
Well
well.
done. Well done.
So we didn't talk too much about the book. Can we all sort of, I mean, I haven't read it yet, but I would like to read it, and maybe we can reconvene a month from now at the same time, the same cool people, and go back a little bit more into what Labina talks about in that book. I will make a commitment to do that, and bring my opinions, whatever they may be for that. And in the meantime, I'd love to talk with you individually too, in a short one-on-one, because I think we're all singing in the same choir. So
Yeah, and meet us if anybody wants to double book yourselves. I know you guys are busy, but at 6:30 we're going to be meeting with Jenny Bandol and whoever wants to join. I know a lot of you are far away, so I don't know what time it would be for you, but 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, we're meeting again, and we're gonna be talking about the book.
So is it the same link? Is it on
No, different link. So if
Can
you
you
go
put that
into
link
the,
in chat? right
yes.
now?
Oh, right now? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Um,
when you, before that we end. Yeah.
if you
I'd
would
like to,
yeah.
may I answer something? Erin, you said something that was really pivotal because we've been doing the vagus nerve and then the whole autonomic dysfunction. So my son is like the biggest guinea pig in the world. He was my study ground for the last 18 years. So in the trenches with him, I had tried so many different things, but that vagus nerve, and because of trauma, medical trauma, it was very difficult, that to control it, because it's like that disconnect happens and then there's no accessing the resources that he knows and was trained on. So it was this cycle of waking up in the morning. And I found this very interesting, that if he woke up and he went right to a computer before eating or drinking anything, that dopamine hit was sort of satiating him some way. But if we broke away, it would turn into anger. So I was noticing the dopamine receptor hits, and being a pandas pans kid, I realized along the way that he's got some kind of an amino acid deficiency. So bringing in tryptophan and upping the dose over a period of like 2 months, I literally see this shift in personality and calmness. And now he's self-regulating. He realizes when he feels nervous that he needs the tryptophan, and so the cravings for the sugary drive to eat the carbohydrates and all that went way down. Wow.
His brain kind of went, I know what I need. And then he was educated enough on diet, but then didn't have the willpower, quote unquote, because of that drive to go get instant sugar and carbohydrates.
Mhm.
So that improved. And then he's been calm and caring and like compassionate, and his whole personality has matured appropriately. There's also the autonomic. So his heart rate his POTS symptoms were so severe that it would go to 254 with chest pains and belching because of the vasovagal dysregulation.
Wow.
That it would go to 77 within a few seconds, like 10, 15 seconds. And we had a blood pressure cuff, and he had all the symptoms of this autonomic dysfunction with the dilated eyes. There are biomarkers that the body presents, and I'm educating other parents on that. When you get this in hand, you realize it's not misbehavior, it's a body struggling to exist in a world. And so how to regulate that, and that tryptophan has been pivotal in bringing in that amino acid for him. Now, I was told by our doctor, you shouldn't use that, you should use 5-HTP. So I went to the 5-HTP and he tanked. So his body did better on the tryptophan. I actually don't do well on either one of those. I do better on L-tyrosine. And I think it's a very individual thing that you have to figure out for the body. But that was really key to getting a hold of that. So now the vagus nerve is online, the POTS
Oh, it's cutting out.
are gone completely.
Wow.
And also we're bringing in, and we're also bringing in a larger foundation of the B vitamins,
Mhm.
but not folate and methyl B12. So those are the things that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
So Joan, oh my God. Okay, so you just touched on my sore spot right now, because tryptophan is also one of the things that I've been trying to deal with my voice. So so it's tricky, right? Because some people can't tolerate it, other people get even worse with supplementing either way.
Yes.
And then I was reading that because there is tryptophan feeding pathogens, that you might be you might not have the microbes that actually break the tryptophan cycle in the right way into the kynurenine pathway, where they are not getting stuck into the how was the other one, the quinine, which is a really toxic metabolite, right? So there is like different type of microbes, and it really depends on the environment of who are you actually feeding. if you're feeding pathogens that they're the ones that stealing your tryptophan, literally. So you're eating enough, whatever tryptophan foods, but these critters are just stealing your tryptophan and making something else with it.
Well, okay, maybe it's that or that dopamine receptors, there's not enough of them and they're blunted. And the way the body wants to present with the dopamine receptors, you have certain alleles for each dopamine receptor, like allele, I'll just throw this out, allele 1 and 2. And if you're challenged and these receptors are low and they're blunted or kind of like sparse because they didn't get the right nutrients absorption, again, malnutrition, if they have the right, my understanding is B6 and B3 are pivotal in that, and then bringing those up. So if you don't have the right foundation of the B vitamins, that maybe that could be a factor. But Han, what do you think? I mean,
so my job in the last 12 years is to educate people on. There's a paper by Bruce Ames again in 2006 in PNAS, and the title is as follows: Low micronutrient intake may accelerate the degenerative diseases of aging by allocation of micronutrients by triage. And I'll put the link to the paper there. Now, the bottom line is this: are we working? And when I say, are we working from a solid micronutrient foundation? And the Germans don't call supplements. They call them nutrition completing substances, which makes the neurolinguistic switch that says there's a gap between, there's likely a gap between what your body needs and what you're giving it.
yes.
And if you look at the NHANES study, only 1 out of 10 people in America are getting their required dose of vegetable and fruits in their diet. So my job is just to educate people. Are you working from a solid foundation? If there's a crack in your wall, you can patch the crack, but you're also going to look at the foundation of your house. What unfortunately is happening in our sort of rush to get the fix is that what we look at is, what's the problem? And we try to take an allopathic approach to fixing it when the foundation is actually rotting. So we need, and then also, we can go get our blood tests and we get a shitload of data on all the different vitamins that are there. And as you pointed out too, the RDA makes no sense for the individual. What does RDA mean? Maybe somebody needs a lot more because they have, like Martina's son, they have a polymorphism that reduces the activity of an important enzyme. Now that's where I would look at first, and that's where Bruce Ames looks at first. So we cannot rob Peter to pay Paul. You cannot rob Peter that's responsible. Now for me, I'm an old fart. My priority is to die young, as late in life as possible. So I want to know what are the factors that keep my miracle machine in homeostasis, my machine expressing life in a healthy, youthful phenotype, so I can, exit fun, die, maybe when I'm 90 or 100. That's where my priority is. But it overlaps with the priority of people that are looking for fixes because they've been robbing Peter to pay Paul for so long in their life, even if it's young. Yeah. So once we've gotten the ground rules established, the foundation established, there may still be problems, but then let's look at the problems.
So the problems that stand out to me is oxygenation in the blood.
Yeah.
And I would say, I would go back to the microbiome and remember, we have the first math they were doing is like we're 90% DNA microbes, and microbes make nutrients. So if you have a depleted microbiome, I know that many, looking at the way, all communities ate before, there was not enough available diversity of foods, but people had like sometimes very, 1, 2, 3 foods that they would eat constantly, and they were still, well fed or not malnourished. And the reason is because microbes make neurotransmitters, nutrients, vitamins. If you're missing a bunch of your microbiome, you have to go to the sources of like getting the nutrients from your food, from a diversity of food, because at the end, it's the nutrients that's gonna feed your cells, and also the metabolism of how your cells are. You can eat whatever you want and have all the nutrients, but if they are outside of the door and there is no, nobody opening the cellular channels for those nutrients to enter into the cell, you can eat whatever you want, but you're gonna still be malnourished. So
Sorry to interrupt you. I don't. It's like a chicken and egg.
yeah,
I definitely, but I believe strongly that I am what I am because I have a good microbiome.
yeah,
If you read the article or the little thing on Li Ping Zhao, whose mantra I stole: eat right, keep fit, live long, die quick. When he was in Chicago, he had one shape. It was really obese shape. When he went to Shanghai, he changed his diet to include a lot of yams that we'd have in the traditional Chinese diet. He got completely slimmed down, but he also, just by that changing of diet, changed the whole profile of his gut microbiome.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, yes, we are a microcosm. We are a little universe that has every player play its part, and we need to give every player its due. So chasing down that allopathic one thing without looking at the whole, I mean, there was another wonderful lady who was a Gap Junction lady. She told me Western medicine is based on cutting up dead people and seeing how the bits fit together. And the sum is greater than the part. Eastern medicine is based on looking at what keeps the living organism in homeostasis. So
Exactly.
wouldn't you want to have a bit of both?
Well, there's a lot of things that Western medicine misses when they look at the body. You have like hot and cold, and then you have every variation in between. Is it dry or moist? They look at every variation in between. They look at the way it's presenting, and the body shows what's happening. So they listen to the body in that moment. And then based on what the tongue looks like, what the body temperature looks like, how they're presenting in energy, their eyes, the glow, then that it interferes. If we look at something like what's broken, let's fix it, versus how is the body in balance, and let's give a counterbalance to find balance. I can't hear you.
I think we should continue this conversation. I've also got to run. Guys, please, I mean, if you want to do a mastermind, Adriana, I think the book club is good. You want to turn it into a mastermind on a monthly basis. You pick a time, I'll be there, and I'll invite people like I invited Nolene and Johan today. And also Joan and Aaron and Martina and Moad, Dr. Azam, you're welcome to come to Your Holistic Academy, which is a group that is founded out of Ireland. It's a brainchild of John Donnelly that looks at empowering holistic practitioners to transform the world's health. So if you're interested, just put your email. I think if your email is here, I will add you to the open forum on Tuesdays, and you're more than welcome to come there. But
Yes.
and thank you for letting me.
And
Han,
yes,
can you put that in the chat really quick? Because I didn't track you when you were saying it. So could you just put the link or the name in the chat for me? I mean, us.
I put you mean for us to chat, you mean?
No, for Holistic Academy you were talking about.
I will do that before I go. Let me see.
Perfect.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
and yes, so I will open a document, and I will let everybody who wants to access the document, so you guys can write your, all your contact information in there so we can connect.
I think what's really interesting, everybody's sort of, it feels like one of those moments where everybody's seeing it from their perspective, but now we need to figure out from a 30,000 square foot, like away approach, looking down on it. I know we're all looking at an elephant, and I know we're all looking at our own piece of the elephant, and how do we look at it as a whole system?
And integrating the whole thing.
Yes. And then for that individual, the way that that individual is presenting, what's the top priority that we address? And there is a test that can, if amino acids are a problem, and we're trying to figure out the genetic expression of those genes, and we know that nutrients flips the switches, but in the meantime, trying to figure out how to support the body where it's at, maybe genetic expression testing, which there is a test for amino acids, and then figure out which allele is expressing, and then what would be needed to bring that in. In the meantime, you have different substances that can come in that allow the body to work at a more optimal pace and complement whatever foods we bring in. So it has to be a kind of a tier 1, but a tier down, and then bio-individual.
So I'm going to add another link to a paper, if I can find it, to a paper that sort of addresses the resistance to epigenetics in the actual modern world, because it is associated with Lamarck, who was a contemporary of Darwin, who was sort of vilified for his approach to how things sort of happened in the body. But really, there is. Let me see if I can find it here. I would encourage you to read this, because this is. I just have a problem with this singular focus on the genetics. I definitely think that we need to focus on it, but it makes us miss something, because that means we can blame our parents. We can still blame our parents, but for other reasons. We have the genes of the book of life and how we express it. Everything has to have a trigger. So what's the trigger?
I can tell you what I know. I can tell you what's come across my plate. It's the chemicals that were introduced at a certain time period in our life that affected our great-grandparents. And then in the studies in labs, the expression doesn't show up until you're the grandchild in the rat species that are being studied, or the mice species. So it doesn't affect the actual exposure to that individual or their children and offspring, but it was the grandbabies that it was expressing in. And I really think it's the chemicals, going back to the chemicals.
And that's a lovely conversation I'd love to have with you, to learn a little bit more of that. And I can't seem to find the link easily, so I'll share it with you the next time.
So Hans, I like your idea of the mastermind. We can, if everybody is, any physician is up to making a little mastermind where we can put all, it can be a series of talks where every physician talks about a certain thing. We can all talk about different things, and then integrating, like you say, Joan, integrating the whole thing. I think we can do something pretty cool.
Yeah, and my vision is to take the burden off sick care. Mm-hmm. It's unsustainable and it's bankrupting us, and create a grassroots movement to build a true healthcare system by enabling and empowering people with the tools to monetize prevention.
Yeah.
And
yes.
And holistic healing. And I think everyone can be needed there. There's still going to be things that are going to confound us. I mean, I really feel for you, Martina. I the struggle that you have with your child. I mean, I wish there was something. We all wish we could fix things. Mm-hmm. So I really feel for you. I'm not pretending that I have a solution for anything. And I tell people I do not do sick care. I do wellness and healthcare. So I will tell you what in 30 seconds, what's the consequences of your lifestyle by giving you your holistic integrated health biomarker. And then after that is up to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not something that most people don't really do wellness until they're sick. It's just the way we are. Denial is not a river in Egypt, it's a form of coping.
Yes.
It's this full catastrophe that's life. So
Well, I for one would be very interested in the group, because I feel like I've been geeking out here with you guys. So forgive my passion and overzealousness today.
No, I love your passion. I think we're all in the same page, and I love just like feeding from each other and encouraging parents,
Yes.
especially parents, because this is where I feel that the big thing is going to be coming in the next few years, with the rates of autism and autoimmune for children.
The only thing
rising
I would
so
like
much.
to add to what Han was saying was that Hans, the only thing that would make it better is to find a delivery system to get these nutrients in without having to break them down. So utilization of the nutrients quicker. That would be awesome.
yeah, and I think there are companies that sort of take that do personalized nutrition. So there's lots of stuff that's coming or that already is available to people. Once there's a company that will take your DNA, look at your SNPs, and then suggest match your personalized nutrition. As far as I'm concerned, since only 1 out of 10 people are getting their nutrition, the magical sort of miracle healing is happening not because of that particular personalized nutrition, but all of a sudden they're getting what the
exactly.
body needs. So if we just start there,
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. So it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people too, especially during COVID.
Yes.
there's a wonderful TED talk by a guy called Ron Finley, Gorilla Gardener, and he has a wonderful phrase: "We've got to change the composition of the soil.
Yes.
Kids plant tomatoes, they will eat tomatoes." And then he says what he does is he in South Central LA, the home of the drive-by and the drive-through, he plants the medians, and that's planting money. There's no excuse. For me, there's no excuse.
Yeah.
It's a simple solution. If you have a victory garden, if you've got someplace where you can plant your foods, you'll know how that tomato tastes with respect versus the tomato you bought at the store, you know? So
Definitely. Does anybody here did anybody here remember what it's like to pull a carrot out of the ground or tomato off the vine without washing it and go, oh, it has a flavor?
And there's another lady in Australia. She said, if we did nothing else but taught cooking at school, we would have a completely different people nourished.
Home ec used to be a thing.
Exactly, it used to be a thing. As was exercise. I mean, I hate exercise. I hate playing football. You know, but just basic movement. You know, the motion.
So and so you find something fun the person wants to do, but you revolve it around a fun way to do it. Bottom line, and you don't call it anything except let's go play.
Exactly.
Let's go back to the beginnings.
We could go on forever. I'm going to let you go.
Yes.
I'm an addict for this. Adriana, thank you so much again.
I'm so glad we went over 45 minutes.
Take good care, guys, and we'll see you soon. Okay.
All right. Nice meeting you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Adriana, for putting this on. This was really lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody. Big kisses.